Welcome everyone! Before we dive in, let us play with an idea. Arguments. Not the kind where people fight, but the kind where we use logic and reasoning to prove a point. In this discussion, we will explore how logic and set theory through the rules of inference can help us prove arguments clearly and systematically.
But before we begin, allow us to introduce ourselves. I am Learning P. Berha.
And I am Apple Felicelda. We are both taking Bachelor of Secondary Education major in Mathematics at Carlos Hilado Memorial State University. As mentioned earlier, this discussion will focus on proving arguments. But here's the twist. We are not just proving random statements. We are connecting them to something much bigger, something global, the Sustainable Development Goals. Before we go deeper into proving arguments, let's first define what is Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs. The Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs are 17 goals created by the United Nations to help countries work together in solving the world's biggest challenges. This includes ending poverty, reducing inequality, and fighting climate change. The SDGs aim to protect both people and the planet so that future generations can live well.
So here are some of the SDGs that we will be using in proving arguments. We have SDG 4, Quality Education, SDG 5, Gender Equality, and SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. Let us now proceed to the first argument, which is about SDG 4, Quality Education. If quality education is accessible in the Philippines, then Filipinos' learning opportunities improve. If Filipinos' learning opportunities improve, they secure better employment and poverty is effectively reduced. However, poverty in the Philippines has not been effectively reduced. Therefore, quality education is not sufficiently accessible in the Philippines. Improving arguments. First is we have to identify the propositions to give an hypothesis and what we need to prove. So for the propositions, we have P. Quality education is accessible in the Philippines. Q. Filipinos' learning opportunities improve. R. Filipinos secure better employment. And S. Poverty is effectively reduced. For the hypothesis, first is we have P implies Q. Second is Q implies the quantity of R and S. And third is the negation of S. So we need to prove the negation of P. As you can see, we have here the following hypothesis wherein the first three were given. Hypothesis number 4, negation of the quantity of R and S implies negation of Q. It is the contrapositive of hypothesis number 2. By applying the Morgan's rule in the fourth hypothesis, we have the quantity of negation of R or negation of S implies negation of Q for hypothesis number 5. For the number 6 hypothesis, we apply the addition in the third hypothesis, therefore, we have negation S or negation of R. In hypothesis number 7, we have the negation of Q, in which we applied modus ponens in hypothesis 5 and 6. And last, we proved the negation of P by applying modus tollens in hypothesis number 1 and 7.
The second argument is all about SDG 5, Gender Equality. If the government implements policies about equal healthcare access for women, then women's health outcomes improve. If women's health outcome improves, they are able to pursue higher education. If women's health outcome improves and they pursue higher education, society progresses sustainably. Therefore, society progresses sustainably if the government implements policies about equal healthcare access for women. For the propositions, we have P. The government implements policies about equal healthcare access for women. Q. Women's health outcomes improve. R. Women can pursue higher education. And T. Society progresses sustainably. Well, the given hypotheses are number 1, P implies Q, number 2, Q implies R, and number 3, quantity of Q and R implies T. We need to prove that P implies T. So again, the first three hypotheses were given. For the hypothesis number 4, P implies R. We apply the hypothetical syllogism in hypothesis 1 and 2. By applying conjunction in hypothesis 1 and 4, we have P implies quantity of Q and R. And last, we prove that P implies T by applying hypothetical syllogism in hypotheses 5 and 3.
Moving on to the third and the last argument, SDG 11 Sustainable Cities and Communities. If the flood control projects are done, then the contractors are not stealing the funds. If the contractors are not stealing the funds, then the flood is lessened. The flood is not lessened. Therefore, the flood control projects are not done. We have the following propositions. F. Flood control projects are done. C. Contractors are stealing the funds. And L. Flood is lessened. For the hypothesis, we have number 1, F implies not C. Number 2, negation of C implies L. And number 3, negation L. So we need to prove not F. Again, the first 3 hypotheses were given. Hypothesis number 4, F implies L, wherein we applied hypothetical syllogism in hypothesis 1 and 2. And we proved not F by simply applying modus tollens in hypothesis 4 and 3.
So that's all for our discussion about proving arguments relating to SDGs and using the rules of inference. We hope that you learned something. God bless and thank you for watching.